Hello, I'm Larry Dixon, and this is a conversation with First Baptist Church. With me today is Janet Ratliff.
Hello.
Janet, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
I always like to start these off with, tell me about where you grew up and what was that like?
Okay, well, I grew up in West Liberty, Kentucky, in a place called Crockett, Kentucky. Around that area, we were about equal distance from West Liberty as we were to Paintsville, Kentucky. So, much of my upbringing was in a little country area. I had big mountains behind the house, and, I roamed those mountains quite a bit. I don't today. But I enjoyed growing up there. It was a good, safe place. A lot of family was around, and so you didn't get lost very much. Somebody seen you or knew where you were all the time. And so it was a nice place to grow up.
So, where did you meet Garrick?
Garrick and I met in college. I came to Moorhead on a scholarship and loved my time at Moorhead so much. And Garrick and I met kind of our junior, senior year. And, I had the opportunity to meet him, and we just really enjoyed our time at Moorhead and enjoyed our time so much we ended up living here afterwards.
And you work at?
Moorhead State University, and have ever since I graduated. I graduated and was a real unique situation. When I finished my master's, I always wanted to teach, and there was an opening that became available. So I walked into graduation as a student graduating, and I walked out as a faculty member. I'd been hired.
And you teach what?
I teach business. For years I taught originally economics, marketing, personal finance, and now I'm into entrepreneurship.
So with this COVID, what's that been like for you in the classroom? Or has there been a classroom?
Well, actually, I kind of kept a similar schedule in that we've always been, part of our classes are taught in person and part are taught online. The only thing is originally, when COVID initially struck, there were universities closing, and students would ask me, do you think, we're going to close and go online? I said, oh no, I can't see that. And then as it went on and on, all of a sudden, in that March time frame, we were completely online and we flipped. The nice thing about me is it just so happened that I just had one class that term that was in face-to-face. The others were online. So I took that class. It was a small class, and I was able to take it completely online very quickly. And we had conversations, and it was a different type of environment than I'd had traditionally in the online. But I really think that my students adapted well because it was a small group. We had had enough time to get to know each other. And so they were very well conditioned, and we went right on and didn't miss a beat. So we were very fortunate. I think had I had 50 in a classroom, which was normal for me, it would have been a much different story. And then things kind of got better. It was very awkward, though, when we started back to have the masks and the social distance and the protocols to protect our students and to make sure that they wipe down their desk and wipe down their spaces. And I think it was very stressful to the students. And so I think there was a lot of adaptations we had to do and work together to try to make that successful as it could be, given the circumstances.
Well, I know for me, Zoom classes, if I'd been the student, I would have been looking out the window.
Yeah, I think that's very hard to adapt like that. And, I'm not sure how on their end, how much time they really paid attention to me. Many times they wanted to turn their screens off, and I would say, can I see you? I want to know who you are because I've only seen you in masks, or I've only seen you in these ways, and I'd like to see you as a person. And so then they would accommodate. But it was hard for them. And I think paying that much attention for that period of time was a difficult thing as well.
Yes. Well, I'm going to move on to the next question. What are your passions, your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Well, I wish I had a lot of hobbies. Unfortunately for me, my work keeps me pretty busy, my family. I think when I finally get to retire, I'd like to go into jewelry making and things of that nature. I enjoy embossing, doing stationery. I enjoy scrapbooking, that sort of thing. And so I think when time opens up more so, I will enjoy that a lot. Raising a child up until this point, and now I'm going to be able to do some hobbies because he's 18 and going to college.
Well, everybody's got a bucket list. What's on your bucket list that you would really like to do?
I think my bucket list is about sightseeing and getting to go places that I've never been. I had the opportunity as a teacher to take groups of students internationally, and we were able to go places that I never dreamed as a child. I remember saying Italy would have been on my bucket list because I read about Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii and never dreamed as a little girl. I mean, this is back in encyclopedia days where I did a thorough report on it. Never dreamed that it would ever be in my capability to get to go somewhere like that and see it. And so I think from having that experience, I was able in 2014 to go there. And I just remember being so impressed, and I never dreamed that that volcano was still active. I thought when it blew in 79 AD, that was it. And just being able to see places and things I've learned about all my life and never dreamed I would get to have the opportunity to go and see. And that would be my bucket list, is to get to travel and to get to really see some of the things that I only read about or learned about as a young person or even as an older person.
What place would be the number one that you would like to go to?
I'd like to go back to Italy and Greece because I feel like there's so much history there, whether it's mythological or whether it's biblical or whether it's just in the stories told. I just think you could spend I don't know how long there and never really see it all. So I thought it was most beautiful and historical and just things that you have a history on that you could look back to. And the U.S. is the same. There's many places in the U.S. that I'd just like to visit and explore, but definitely I'd like to go back to Italy and Greece as a number one bucket list.
What brought you to First Baptist Church?
Well, when I was a student, I did not go here, but when I was able to get married, I looked into it. I did not end up getting married here, but I had some good friends who had gone here. And so then when Garrick and I got married in 1994 and came back, they were here and they kind of lured us in, if you will, and they ended up leaving. And we felt like this was our home. And we've enjoyed the people, we've enjoyed the thinking. We may not always agree, but I think one of the advantages is we respect each other and we listen and we learn from each other. And sometimes you change your mind because you hear a perspective you didn't think about or didn't know. And it's about being respectful of each other, and we love it here. And that's how, so we're brought in by people who left, but we stayed for the duration. And this is, I feel like, my home church, my home.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question. What would you say to someone looking for a home church, and why should they choose First Baptist Church?
I think it's about a group of people who you share commonalities with in the respectfulness and the appreciation and us trying to do good things for each other and believing in the community of church. And I think even people that may not agree, they're going to find, 100%, because no two people will ever agree 100% on anything, I don't think. But the point is, here you're accepted for who you are and respected for who you are. And I think many times in today's climate, politically and otherwise, sometimes people are not respectful of other people's views. And I think the one thing that I've always respected about our church and our community of church here is that we enjoy sharing with each other and respecting each other. And I just think that that's a hard thing to find today, where people come together because they want to worship together and they're willing to listen and learn from each other. And I just think that's something to be coveted today.
Of all the characters except for Jesus in the Bible, who would you spend the day with over a bucket of fried chicken?
Well, I think this is going to sound strange, but I've thought about it. The story of Ruth in the Bible and her appreciation for her mother-in-law and being with her mother-in-law and wanting to be beside her. She took her in as her family. And so Ruth became family, and she carried that out further. And, I remember when I got married, Garrick's mom, they always laughed and said she was a hard lady, and if you got accepted by her, you had done something. And I remember her accepting me in, and just our talks and our relationship, and I miss that very much. And I just think that Ruth was a very special character. And I think what she was willing to do to make sure that she and her mother-in-law were safe and taken care of, and she was willing to step up and be a leader, and she was willing to work hard. There's components of her character that I think I would like to know more about and appreciate more, because I think that's on the fundamental level where we all need to begin, is being in somebody else's shoes and understanding people and being able to come out of that and bring great success stories from that.
And you've kind of touched on this. How has First Baptist Church personally impacted you, and why have you stayed?
I think it's made me want to be a better person, to try to recognize needs. I laughed and told our secretary at one time, I've never been able to see what I should be doing necessarily, but if you'll just call me and tell me something you need, I'm more than happy to try to help. And so we had that relationship, and the secretary, which was Jackie would always call me and say, Janet, maybe we need potato salad for a funeral. Maybe I need you to go see so-and-so, they're not feeling well. And I appreciate that, and I think the reason that I've loved being here and wanted to stay is this church has made me be a better person. It's made me better understand needs that are out there and helped me to want to see that more clearly and try to do for more people. And this year I had a goal that I wanted to recognize and be more of a minister to people in terms of whether it's something as simple as sending a card or recognizing that they had lost someone and were maybe lonely. And I've really tried to pay more attention to my fellow churchgoer or my fellow friend or my fellow colleague at work, just to pay attention that in order for you to receive that love, you have to give that love. And I think that's what this church is all about, is it's about recognizing others' needs and trying to put them before yourself.
As you well know, my mother passed away in April. And you brought me an apple pie.
Yeah.
An apple pie is much better than silk flowers. Thank you for that.
You are very welcome.
Anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share that people need to know about Janet Ratliff?
That's a hard one. I don't know. I sometimes am not an extrovert, although I would appear to be as a teacher. You know, you're in front of people all the time. And I think that, I would just say that I am very approachable. I am humbled to be a part of this church. I come from a background that, I had to work really, really hard, so I value hard work above most other things. I appreciate people who are working hard and trying to do better. And, if someone needs to talk to me or ask me or, anything like that, I may not seem approachable, but I certainly am, because I have been there and I've worked very hard, and I know that life is just hard.
Yes, it is.
No easy ways about it, I laughed and said when I had my son, there's no manuals, because I'm an educated person and I look to try to find answers, and, sometimes there's just no answers, and life is hard and it's ugly and it's complicated, and you need to be able to go to a friend and other people and say, I need you, even if it's for a minute to listen to me, I just need you. And so I think that that's what I'd want people to know is I am approachable. It may not seem that way, but I certainly am.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
With me today has been Janet Ratliff. I'm Larry Dixon, and this has been a conversation with First Baptist Church.